to introduce you to Bluebeam Studio, and then within Studio, there are two aspects. There are projects and sessions. So if you're using Bluebeam Revu and you haven't used the sessions or projects yet, hopefully you will after today. Of course, with the shutdown last year due to the pandemic, a lot of our customers began doing more things online, which adds an enormous amount of value to Bluebeam. Not only is it a PDF editor and markup program, but it does have the online collaboration features. So let me see if I can make this move forward. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Studio is, and then we'll do a live demo just to show you how to set up. I'm just going to set up a session, upload a file, invite some people, and then hopefully John and I can collaborate if all of the Revu gods are in the right place at the right time. So again, the idea is that we have a program that allows us to access PDFs, which are going to be the primary software that's going to be used for our construction. The Bluebeam Revu will allow us very quickly to mark up drawings, do quantity takeoffs, and collaborate so that we increase our revenue by doing things more quickly than drawing on paper or trying to use Adobe Acrobat, which is insane, and minimized risks. Of course, tragically in Florida, that wasn't a construction issue, but certainly, that is one of those risks that we definitely want to try to avoid, especially when we're building new buildings. It also makes it much easier to collaborate with partners, both during the design and documentation process, as well as during construction, especially if you have, let's say, CA. And we can all be on the same page because we're working with the portable document format, or PDF, that was developed by Adobe to be a neutral file format. And it allows us to add all of these things to that information in the PDF file. So metadata and hyperlinks and bookmarks, all those other sorts of things. We're not going to show that today. We'll be doing that in a future webinar. But it also gets us all speaking the same language. So some people might be using PDF, some might be using AutoCAD, some might be using Revit. So who knows what everyone's using. But if we all print to PDF, we are all speaking the same language. It allows us to create reports out of the PDFs, easily import comments from others without having to physically try to transfer this information other than a click of a button. And the information is centralized. There are some trade-offs. The review and markup multiple copies of the same document would create inefficient workflow. Of course, we have ways to manage that inside of Revu, tracking down who has not made comments on files. Again, with Revu, we have the ability to do that. We can combine all the comments into one master file, which many can't, and doing comments in isolation. Of course, many documents to keep track of, difficult to know if others have received or noticed relevant feedback. Again, there are ways to track some of that as well. And real-time collaboration. So when you need to meet with your fellow consultants, if you're the architect, you're usually the lead dog on a project, but then you'll hire the structural engineer, the MEP, site, many others, and you may need to be able to collaborate with them simultaneously, estimators, others, especially the owner that's paying the bills. And again, we can do that through a PDF format. Okay, so the two items that are included in Bluebeam Revu, free of charge, no subscription needed. In fact, some people can actually join sessions without actually having a paid version of the software. They can still be using the demo or the trial version of the software. Our studio sessions are one aspect, and we have studio projects are another aspect. So what is the difference between the two? So the idea behind a studio session is that it is a cloud-based capability using Revu to review PDF documents only. The cloud or the internet service is usually an Amazon web server, so they're very secure. And you can create a session in which up to 500 people can be collaborating simultaneously, and you can have up to 5,000 documents in a particular session. That seems to me to be total chaos, but there are probably some projects, Olympic stadiums and others, where you may need that many people collaborating at the same time online, and you can certainly do that. It is only for PDFs, however, so no Word documents, no AutoCAD drawings, nothing else. It's just for PDF markup and collaboration. The other half of Studio is called projects, and projects essentially allow you to upload, again, to the web all of the folders and files that you would use on an architectural or engineering or a building project. So you can upload them from your office server or your local machine, and these would be files such as Word documents, AutoCAD drawings, PDFs, Excel, PowerPoint, really almost anything at all. I think Revit files are still not supported. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't kept a real close look on whether those are being supported online or not. Again, we can get more done together. We can, there in the newest version, Revu 20, there's improved user and content management. Studio admins can invite and assign permissions to users. Copy and paste, I'm gonna show you how that works, addresses, and see who's not yet joined a session if you have not yet joined a project, and new location for settings and session closeout. Okay. So that's enough of the upfront stuff. Let's get into Studio. So let me go ahead and log out of Studio and then log back in. I'm going to sign out. Okay. So I'm in the, and I'm going to be looking away from the camera. I apologize. I have a dual screen monitor. So the camera is over here and Bluebeam is over here. So you're going to see the side of my face. I apologize for that. I am in the Revu profile that is called Revu Advanced. If you're not aware of profiles, we probably have a webinar that we've done, or a blog, or a webinar that we're going to be doing that involves profiles. There are wonderful ways to set up what you want your screen to look like, what tool sets you have available, what custom columns you have in your markup list. So I'm in the Revu Advanced right now. And what that means is that over here on the left side of the screen is where that little studio house is. And if I left click on that, it'll open the panel up. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And something new this year, just because, you know, software developers have to find new ways to irritate us, right? So in the past, you were always able to keep your email address in there, and now it doesn't do that. You're going to have to log in each time. So that is another, oops, and I have to go ahead and actually click in there. Another challenge for us, senior citizens? I don't know, it's such a terrible word, right? Okay, so let's try that. See if I can remember my login here. Let's get that last letter in there. Go ahead and pick next. And now the real challenge, right? Can you remember your password? So try to use one that is familiar to you. And I've tried to keep me signed in, and yeah, that doesn't work either. Okay, so if I am successful, it will now change the screen over here on the side, and you'll see my listing on the upper left. Hopefully everyone can see that. If you can't, please certainly send a message to the chat box, and one of my colleagues will start yelling at me. You have these two icons here. One is for projects. Let's see if I can highlight those. The one on the left is for projects, and the one on the right is for sessions. So again, with a session, if I were to open a session, let me just open, let's say this one called collaboration. You'll see that there are files listed here in the middle, but again, they are all PDF files. I'm going to hop out of that by clicking on the little icon right here, which is to leave a session but not sign out. And if I click on the project button, you will see that if I go to a project such as, which one was I working on earlier today? I think I was working on this one, maybe not. Let's see if I was working on this one. I wasn't working on that one, but let me see which one I was working on. Was it this one? Yeah, this one would work. So under this particular project, I have 3 folders that I've created. So there's a folder, if I double click, that has DWGs in it. There is a folder that has simply the PDF files in it. And there was a folder that had the Word documents in it. And again, I will show you where you can upload things from in a minute or two on those. So we'll come back to projects, but let me go over and try creating a new session. So the building I live in, this is something that I created in Revit. And let me see if I can bring up an elevation of it here. Here we go. So here is, I think, the front of the building that I live in. Actually, that looks like the side of the building I live in. Let's see if I can find, oh, here we go. So here's the front of the building I live in, and 1, 2, 3. So this is my unit right here on the 3rd floor, right? And this was all modeled in Revit. It was a challenge to me to see if I could actually use that software after teaching it for many years. And here would be a floor plan for the building. So there are different floor plans that we have. And my unit is here on the 3rd floor, right? So here's the, oh, that's 2nd floor. Let's see if I can get to the 3rd floor plan. So I'm over here in this corner, right? So let's say we were meeting with a client, or there was a meeting with a contractor, and there was a leak, or there were some issues with balcony or something else. There was some stack cleaning issues recently in the building, and we wanted to try to locate where that particular stack was with a contractor. Well, rather than my having to print these out all the time and send them back and forth to them, why not create a session where we can upload this file and then share that and then do our markups in a collaborative way. And then at the end of that meeting, we could get a printout of that information. So creating a new session, let me go over to sessions. I can create a new session as long as I'm not in one by clicking on, and I don't see where my little red circle is, here we go, that little plus sign right there. So I'll go ahead and click that plus, and I'll create a new session. And I'll call it York Square, the building I live in. I'm going to add open files, so it's automatically grabbed that file. I am setting some options down here for permissions. what people can do or can't do. And then I can do some other things. So I could restrict attendees by email address. That is something you probably want to do because there are over, I think, 1 million users of the Bluebeam software, and all they would need to get into a session is this ID up here, right? So if they have a session ID, they can get into it. You can come back and change your mind on that. You can also set just below there an expiration date so that maybe this is something that you're going to have people comment on. So look at, we're putting the document up. You've got a week to comment on it, and then we're closing that session. So you can certainly set an expiration date on it. What should happen next when I click OK is it should bring up a screen that asks me to invite people because no one has been invited yet. Oh, and there it is, right on schedule. So you used to have to type in everyone's address and have it in there, but you can now paste emails in. You can also add emails from groups that you could pre-create if you work with the same people all the time. And if you have Outlook, you can use the address book there. So I have some of my colleagues here. Let me drag this over. So I have in a notepad, I've copied some email addresses from the people in the office. I will right click and pick copy on that. And then what I'll do is I'll click on type or paste emails, and I will right click in there and paste. So I've just very quickly a list of people that I work with on a regular basis on sessions or projects. I can keep that in a Word document or notepad or an email and very easily copy that all in. What I can do is now check and include emails. So I could check to see if those are legitimate, and there are they checked out, and I could go ahead and send an invite to the participants. So I'll click send invite, and it says the Bluebeam Studio has sent an invite to all of the attendees. So they should have received invites, and now what you'll notice is that I have a list here in this particular session of the 4 people that have been invited, but invited, not invited, invited to the session, but haven't joined yet. So if I'm ready to meet, I used to not really know if anyone had joined my session or not yet, but now I can look and I can see that, oh, these guys haven't joined yet. So I could click on a name and send a reminder to it. Now, 3 have not joined because it looks like John has joined me. So down here, I see that John has joined the session. So that's wonderful. Thank you, John. So now all I have to do is bug these other 3 people that haven't joined the session. Okay, so that is a wonderful new feature in the software because you can keep track of it. Also, if you haven't joined a session and you've been invited to one, it'll be listed there under not joined, right? So you'll be able to, oh, you know, I should have joined this. I forgot to join it. So it makes it very easy to join. Oh, and oh, it looks like Dave Spergel has joined. So yeah, so we got all kinds of people in here now. Okay, so what we can start to do is we can start to do markups on here. So I could, let's say, start putting in a cloud markup. I could come here and say, let me see if I can click and drag my note out here somewhere. Where did my note go? That didn't work so well. Let me delete that one and try that again. One more time. Drag my note and put in stack that needs cleaning. Right? We have the ability to take this markup just like anything else and edit it. So we could start to add some additional stuff to it. So I could come up to the main line. I could actually drag this out a little bit further if I want, and do a Control, an Alt Z to make that a little bit smaller. We could start to fill in the cloud with maybe some color. So I will use a fill color on that. Let's say that, and then maybe reduce the intensity of that, right? So other people can be doing that as well. So as you put a markup in the file, it'll start to show that in the list. And why it hasn't added me in there for my particular markup, I don't know. Normally, this will instantly show up in the list here. Maybe it just doesn't show me in the list. I can come down here and see that though in my markup list, there's the cloud that I've added. Maybe I need to save it. Let's try to see what happens if I click save. It's not showing me in the list. Interesting. It does show that I joined, so I'm not sure why it's not showing the other items in there at the moment. As you, if you want to notify someone, you have that available. You also have pending if you are going out in the field. So typically, it will record all of the items here at the bottom. I'm not 100% sure why mine isn't listed there. So, but it should at the end. So other people can get involved and start doing markups on the sheet. You can also say that you want people to follow you. So there's a little person here where you can request attendees to follow you. You could also choose to follow someone. So if you're the admin for a session, you can use that little person right here and say, please keep an eye on me. Or you could choose to basically click someone and follow them, and then you'll see where they are, where their crosshairs are on the screen. So that's also a very nice feature. You have the ability now to come back in and click on this person next to attendees up at the top on the right to invite more people to the session. So again, you can do that. You can also now come in and start to restrict attendees. So you can start to come in and adjust the attendees who have access to this particular project. So if someone is no longer with the firm or no longer working on a project, you can certainly deny them access to it. Other things that you can do, we can go into project settings by clicking on these little up and down toggles, and that will bring up this box. It'll give me, again, the name of the project. It does not have the expiration enabled, but I could certainly do that at this point. I could, again, start to add or deny permissions to attendees, and I can set permissions here to the different attendees. So maybe if I don't want them to be able to print, I could change that allow to deny. So they can't print it, but they could do other things with it. So again, you have control as the admin to do that. On the first item, general, you also can control the notifications that you will get on a session. So do you want to be notified every day of a change? Do you want to be notified weekly? And you can click on Manage Notifications, which will then bring this up. You have the ability to enable notifications for this session. You can choose daily, an email with markup alerts, etc. You can also click on this item at the bottom to control your access to other sessions and projects. And when you do that, this will expand down and give you that kind of permissions. Go ahead and close that. Oops, go ahead and close that. You also have the ability to do a markup out in the field. So let's say I need to go out and check something in the field. So I'm going to say, oh, and here are the clouds all being listed. So where did mine go? Let me go click Added a Cloud, and that'll take me to where a cloud was added. Let me go over here. Yep, there's another one. There's another markup that I can go to. So you can choose this. Let me see, added a rectangle. So that'll take me to that particular markup. Mine just didn't get in the list. Maybe didn't like me. I don't know. You can also go to the markup list here, and you can also sort by author. So again, I could click on sorting by author, and I could find the different markups, maybe because I deleted mine or something. Okay. Anyway, you have that in there. You could also go out in the field. I could say, you know, I got to go check something. So I'm gonna go over to. I got to go out in the field. I'm gonna check something on the elevation, and I need to take a look at something here. So I'm going to hop out of my session by clicking on this little break right there, this little kind of plug. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it says, would you like to work offline? Yeah, I'm going to work offline. I now go out in the field and I make a note here. Let's say I grab this guy and say, I'll put a little note here that says repair sill. Okay. That will be now listed under pending, right? So there it says that it's waiting, that I've added that in there. And if it behaves and adds it to the list, when I come back in by clicking that same little plug and reconnect, it should go away and now should be in the recorded list at the bottom. And there it is, our Addis added cloud. So if I go to, let's say, a different sheet, let me go back, let's say, to the first sheet in the set, and I go ahead and then click on that, it will take me back to that particular cloud. Okay. So that's really the beauty here of these sessions. We have the ability to collaborate in real time. Now, one of the things that we don't have is the ability to kind of chat online with a telephone or things of that sort. But we do have the ability to chat down here in what's referred to as the chat box at the bottom of the screen. So if you wanted someone to look at something, what I could do is zoom in here and I could say, hey, all, please look at this sill. Now, when I send that, what'll happen is that if you are somewhere else in the file and you click on that, hey, right, it'll take you to that so that you can see exactly what the person has included in that chat. So it not only does it let them know that you're trying to notify them, but it also will go ahead and zoom in on that as well. So not only does it bring it to their attention, but it'll make others aware that you want them to zoom in on it. Again, I can leave a session if I need to. I can simply click to go out of the session. I'm now out of that session, and others can continue to work, collaborate while I'm not there, and then I can simply come back and click on it and rejoin the session, and it'll still be going. So you can use sessions, oops, that wasn't a really good edit. So you can use sessions for a whole bunch of different things. You can use them to collaborate at the same time. You can use them to have a central document that contains all of the information that you need for a particular project, and you can let everyone have access to that, and they can continue to mark it up for as long as they need to. Or you can set it up so that people only have access for, excuse me, a limited amount of time, and they need to comment and they will be finished with it. So there are a variety of ways to use Studio Session. Let me go ahead and show you one other thing that you can do with it. You can end a session, of course, by, if you're the person in charge, by using a drop-down arrow at the name of the session in the top left and click Finish Session. But you can also get a record of a particular session by clicking on this little list icon here. And if I click on that, it will bring up this dialog box. And what I can do is I can get a record summary, PDF package, or combined file. Now, I really like the combined file feature because what it lets me do is I can include the attendee list, a document list, record items. I can choose which columns I want to be recorded, and I can use the landscape or portrait. I can go ahead and pick OK, and it'll ask me where do I want to save this, and I'm going to try to save it to my session for today. Let's see if it'll save that. And there it is. So there's my session saved. It'll list all of the attendees, the documents that were being used, and then a list of information in there. Let me go to this image here, and we can see this, right? And then it'll include all of the pages and all the different PDF documents. What it should do also is that it should have created hyperlinks. So if I wanted to come over to see where Dave moved a cloud, I could click on that, and it would take me right to that particular web page where that action, not web page, that particular page in the PDF set where that took place. So you have now a complete record of that particular session for legal or other purposes, so you can keep all of the comments. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to close that. I am going to close that, and I am going to hop out of the session. So Dave and John, you can continue to have as much fun as you like with that. The idea was that we were all in the same document at the same time, right? So up to 500 people can be in the same document at the same time. Okay, so let me go over to projects now. And projects, again, work a little differently. Again, you set them up exactly the same way. You click on the plus sign and new project, right? You would give it a name and go through the same process of inviting people and uploading documents. You have some different ways, though, to list things. And now what this project is really sort of a online image of how you maintain your folders back in your office. So you can list the folders this way, you can list the folders that way, right? There's the two different options here. You also have actions where you can synchronize with your files that got uploaded. You can also add folders, files, or upload an entire folder. So you can create a new folder, upload files, or upload an entire folder. Again, we have our project settings. So if I click on that, very similar to the settings that I had for the sessions. There's one additional one, manage shared links. And again, there would be some additional information in here under projects, under my projects, and under attended projects. So let me go ahead and I'm going to close that. And let me reopen that box. and just show you. Again, you have the ability to control user access and permissions and folder permissions, right? So you can get down now and adjust the permissions for the individual folders. So I'm not gonna click on DWG, but I'm gonna come down to a Word document, and if I were going to have Word on my machine, I could click on a file, and I could double left click, and it would open that file. It's opening it on the wrong screen, but it would open that file over here in Word, right? So I'll go ahead and close that. So if you have Word, it would open it. If you have AutoCAD, it would open that. If, again, you want to open PDF files, you can do that from here. Now, there's a couple of things that are a little bit different. Let's say you have a project and you say, oh, you know what? We need to collaborate on this. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and say, you know what, let's add this to a new session. So you could take some PDFs out of a project and open a new session, or if you had created a new session from projects, this particular project, then it would list it there. And you could then work on that particular PDF, collaborate on that, because the idea behind project is that only one person at a time can open files, right? So only I can open this particular PDF. Other people could open it as read only, but only I could open it for editing. So if we need to collaborate, you could upload that into a session. Unfortunately, it's one way at the moment. You can't then transfer it from session back to a project. At least the last time I tried to do that, you couldn't do that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and open, let's say, this file up. And do I wanna do a split screen? No, I'll just open that file up. I'll go ahead and put a markup in here. So let me just drop in a couple of clouds. Oh, you know what? You see, all of my things are grayed out. Now, why is that? You see there's a little lock right there. So what I didn't do was check it out. So, and I mean, literally check it out. So if I right click, I would need to check it out before, so to make sure that no one else has it open. And now I can open it and all of my tools will be there. Now, if you happen to open one by accident, I'll go ahead and check it back in. Not going to really make any comments. If I happen to just double left click on it and check it out with, open it up without checking it out, you'll see there's a little lock. So if no one else has it checked out, I can click on the lock and now choose checkout. And that will allow me to edit that particular file. So I could drop a couple of clouds in there. Maybe I'll come over to my tool set and see if I can find, let's say, a more interesting. Do I have any more interesting clouds over here? I've got one for flooring, so I'll go ahead and drop that in, and I can drop that in, right? And then I'll go ahead and close this. And it'll ask me, do I want to save it? And I'll say yes, and I could say added some clouds. I have the option here to say this is a minor version or it's a major version, and I can update my server copy. I could undo the checkout. I'll go ahead and check that back in. And what's nice about having these studio projects versus in your office is that I now have right click and revision history. So I now get a complete revision history of everything that I have done in that particular file in a project. And I can go back and open up any of the files that I have worked on and go back to any earlier version, right? So that I could easily open that version up, or if I said, you know, we put some markups in and we really didn't want to, we could restore a version. Hopefully, this has helped you get a better understanding of A, what studio sessions are, and studio is, and B, the difference between studio sessions and studio projects.